Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
Better late than never.
Yeah, there you go. So what does it mean? I mean, we glibly talk about juggling these three things. So let's try and put this in context. Come on. There we go. So we've talked a little bit about some of these before, but when we look at speed, shutter speed, we know that we can double or halve the light by making one click on our, or 3 clicks on most machines. To change our shutter speed from 1,000 to a 500th is doubling the amount of light, correct? We're putting in twice as much light at a 500th of a second as we did at 1,000th, and doubling again for a 250th, and so on and so forth, until we get right to the end of that screen. Now, these are not intended to be everything that's available on all, particularly on modern cameras that have much higher speeds.
Graham?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to be seeing the triangle with the word exposure on it yet?
No, you're supposed to be seeing a slide with shutter speeds, apertures, and ISOs on it. Are you not seeing it?
Not yet.
Huh. You know, sometimes this really hacks me off. What can you see?
Just the gray triangle with exposure written through it.
Oh, I moved the slide on.
And the little thumb shots, the little thumbnails on the left.
Huh. So it's not moving forward when I...
No, it doesn't appear to be.
That's strange. Hang on, let me... This is really weird. It worked before. What the hell are we doing now? So you're not seeing any of this. Oh. Did somebody, was that a hint that something had changed?
No, it's still just exposure.
Okay, I'm going to stop the share for a moment, and I am going to play from the slide. Okay, and then I'm going to try spherical objects. Why is it not letting me do this? Okay, share screen. Microsoft PowerPoint. Can you see it now?
Okay.
There you go.
Now it's changed.
See, now it says now your screen share. I don't believe I did anything different. Anyway, so we were talking about shutter speed, which is that top line there, and the relationship is evident there. You can see what happens. 1,000th, a 500th, 250th, 125th, 60th is not quite half, but we get where this is going. We can see that if you go to the right, it's halving the number and doubling the amount of light. And if we go from right to left, it's doubling the number and so on. So the same if we look on the bottom line with ISO. Clearly 200 is twice 100 and 400 and so on and so forth. So those are numbers that are fairly familiar to us in terms of whole stops of exposure. That is a doubling or a halving of the light. The fun stuff comes with aperture because the numbers don't appear to make sense. So we go from on the left-hand side, F2 to F2.8. It's not intuitively obvious that going from F2 to F2.8 is a doubling of the amount of light that goes through the hole. But that's the case, and so on and so forth here. So these are the full stops that we see. F4 is twice as much light as I'm sorry, half of much light as F2.8, 5, 6, F8, 11, 16, 22, 32, 60, and so on. So this is the trick, is that the aperture numbers are not self-evident. But you can either, again, Wikipedia has some wonderful explanations of why this is the case and how that works. And we're not going to go into that in here, but we are going to look at Come on. Okay. Did that change for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we go out and we're doing our landscape photography, let's assume we want the maximum depth of field and we're not worried about any of the other effects that come with a very small aperture. We would choose, for example, f22, would we not?
Mhm.
I can hear you all nodding. We would choose an ISO of 100. And then, now, do you call them seesaws here?
Yes.
Seesaw, okay. Not everybody in
Oh,
America
okay.
does. It doesn't always work. I was teaching a class and everybody was looking at me as though I was stupid. And it turned out that they call them teeter-totters, not seesaws. I call them seesaws. So if we have chosen, remember I said earlier, we can fix any two of these, and the third then is derived automatically. So f22 and 100 ISO generally gets you somewhere in the ballpark of a shutter speed of a 15th of a second. Now, if we take that same set of calculations and we decide that we don't have a tripod like Helen, or she didn't take it with her, and now we have to hold. Now we have to hand hold this, and to be safe, we decide we want a 2/50th of a second. We might get away with a little less, but we're not so good. We're getting older. If we change the speed from a 15th to a 2/50th, we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4 stops on the speed side. And we would need to do the same on the aperture side, or the opposite on the aperture side, actually, in order to make the triangle still work. So we go f22, 16, 11, 8, 5, 6. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the juggling that you're going to do. But then we want to go to 200 ISO. So if we up the ISO, we've still got our 250th, but now we can use an aperture that's one stop different from 5.6, which gives us f8. Now, the only trick that then is, you have to remember which way to go, but that comes with a little bit of experience. And if we decide that we can go to 400 ISO, because we've got a reasonably modern camera and it's pretty good at noise control, then we can get back up to f11. So these are the things that you're going to juggle with. I think that's the last one. Yeah, you don't really care about this. We've talked about some of this stuff, but that's it. So, questions?
I had no idea what Graham meant when I heard aperture triangle, or exposure triangle, I should say, but this has been helpful. I mean, I know some of those things, but this made it much clearer.
Yeah.
So thanks, Graham.
Well,
And Mike, Bill, can you send the presentation out to us?
this is part of a much bigger presentation. I'll try and extract them as PDFs. I actually had to go and install software because this was written originally in Keynote many years ago. And then I discovered that I haven't used Keynote in a long time. So,
And I may have some charts that shows this relationship from that quick workshop that we had that one time. So Graham, if you can't get something to me, I can probably come up with something that will, but it won't.
Mr. Herbert, hello. Hey, good to see you. So
As a totally extraneous point, I was thinking about the gray card, the exposure setting for a neutral gray.
Yep.
Back in old film days, you'd hold a gray card in front of a subject and set your white balance based on that.
Right.
And I have played with, and don't do a lot of it, but I have a camera that's converted to infrared, and in infrared, instead of a neutral gray card, you have a neutral green card. And what that does in part is when you take a picture of snow, it's not white. It's not, when you take a picture of green grass, it is white, not green. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Graham says that if you don't have a gray card, asphalt, but if anybody needs the gray card, I've got one left over from the 70s in film.
Yep.
yeah.
Well,
And
great.
how that is pretty important. I think I was talking to Mark the other day, and I told him that under normal circumstances, well-lit scenes, I like to underexpose by a stop or two, because I know I can pull a lot more out of the shadows. And I don't want to do anything bad with the highlights. But when I was out in California last week, we had hazy skies. Everything was gray. And what I found is what I had to do is I had to overexpose 1.5 stops, because everything was coming out dark all the time and I didn't get the details. So it was kind of interesting to see how that coloration that's in front of you does have a big impact, and you need to be able to adjust for it.
Good.
If you're out in the field, how long does it take you to adjust your camera to get all of this? It seems like that if I went out, I would probably spend hours.
No, I mean, generally, so a useful tip, Helen, is to get into the ballpark, and that's where the gray card comes, or the asphalt, or just find something that you can see that's reasonably close to mid-gray, just gray, and then choose the settings that you want for the type of photography you're doing. So if you're doing landscape, say, you would probably do either aperture priority or preferably manual. And you would choose your aperture and your ISO, and then you can use your meter to get your shutter speed. But once you've got that set, it's not going to change much. And if you're going to change a stop or two, then most cameras ship from the factory with 1/3 of a stop increments. So in order to change 2 stops on your shutter speed, you just click 6 times. Or on the back of your camera for aperture, if you've got a control as I have on the little dial on the back, 6 times gives you 2 stops. Now, the key is remembering which way to go. And I still get that wrong. I have to watch it. But
Yeah, could you say which way is under and which is over, Graham, since you're talking about that?
well, it depends on the settings in your camera. Do you mean the direction of the
The
dial?
direction, yeah.
Yeah, which one is over and which one's under?
Well, over would be you've got too much light,
Okay.
and under would be you've got too little light. But the direction on the dial is usually configurable. I'm a Canon guy, as most of you know, so you can configure most of this stuff as to which way it goes. Yep. See, Helen's now.
Well, and Graham, I think I understand what you're saying, but I would call that bracketing. I mean, you can set a camera to do
not the
3 or
same.
5 or.
No, not the same at all, Mike. You're talking about something different. I'm talking about how many clicks on the dial does it take to change it by a stop, not to bracket.
But just absolute change.
Well, what's the difference then, please?
Well, bracketing would be taking one that was underexposed, one that is correctly exposed, and one that's overexposed. What I'm talking about is actually getting your meter into the middle, making that determination, and then saying, I am photographing, for example, a waterfall. I know I want 2 stops of extra light here to make sure that is. And then what you would do is you would click, you generally use shutter speed if we're doing a landscape. You're going to do the clicks. In my case, I think it would go left. So I would do 6 clicks left, and that would give me 2 stops over exposure according to the meter. So that's the difference, Mike. I'm talking about changing things, not bracketing.
So are you saying that if you just took a picture, a photograph, and you didn't compensate with the exposure, that the waterfall would turn out gray?
Correct. Assuming you spot metered on the waterfall. That's exactly right.
And that's what the camera would, I mean, if you were doing the, yeah, okay.
That's what the camera's trying to do. It's trying to the metering is trying to make everything mid-tone gray.
Well, you said something interesting there, Graham. You said spot metering,
Yep.
where I believe probably most people use the matrix, which is, I guess, kind of an average. So you may want to just explain that a little bit for.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bill. Thank you. So the meter's going to the camera is going to try and do everything, and they have either matrix or average or spot or center weighted, all these different names for the types of metering. So again, this is back to know your instrument. But if you just take a general scene and there's a waterfall in it, it's going to calculate for everything. Well, if your waterfall is the point of focus for you, the interest, you want to meter only on that. That's the most important thing. So then you can, most of your cameras will have a little section, usually in the center, that meters only. It's called spot metering, and it does a very narrow cone of about 1 or 2 degrees. And if you then meter on the waterfall and get this average, the gray, and then move it 2 stops, then your waterfall will be correctly exposed. But as Bill rightly points out, if you do the whole scene and average on that, it's going to do the best it can for everything, not for the waterfall. Make sense?
Yeah, and there's a related technique too, I think, Graham, and I'm don't want to mess up the point again, but if you spot meter and then move the camera, you're in trouble because you've changed where the metering is occurring. So with a half click, usually a half click, depending on the way the camera's set up, with a half click, you can hold where that spot was, but then recompose the scene to get what you really want to take a shot of.
Right.
In other words, if I spot meter your face and you're in the middle of the screen, but I don't want you in the middle of the screen for my shot, and I move my camera so that you're on the third. If you don't lock in the spot meter, it's the metering is going to change.
Yep. We've talked about this in a different context with focus, and Mike's making the point you can do this not only for focus, but also for exposure, which is quite right.
Yeah.
Making sure that you're on single, not continuous. Another.
Well, as long as you're only half pressing, you're okay. Cool. Anything else? Anything to add? Come on, you explain.
Good to go over this stuff. Thank you.
If it's
You're on
white, add,
mute, but
We can't hear you, Mark. Mark's trying to talk, but we don't have you.
Yeah, he's muted.
He's still working on this talking thing, aren't you, Mark?
Yeah. Oh, he was up. Now he's on.
There you go.
Ah, I went back.
Oh, no.
Now we're gonna have to learn sign.
You're not muted, but we can't hear you, Mark.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? You guys are all happy, huh?
I was just curious, Graham, what do you shoot in? Manual?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually, it's rare not to, because I really want to set everything the way I want it. So
Okay.
Usually I will shoot in manual.
All right.
It takes a lot. It's a big step to get there. It's like going from JPEG to RAW. But once you've got it, I rarely go back. I rarely put it on automatic.
Okay.
Cool. Are we ready for some pictures? We have a lot of pictures today. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Let us share a screen. And now it's not even seeing my damn Lightroom, which is definitely there. Let's just go. I'm gonna go here, get rid of that. No, I don't want to save it. Where's Lightroom? Okay, Now Lightroom's there. Will you now do it? Okay, now it sees it. All right. Oh. Thought we were starting there. There we go. Okay.
Ah, nice.
I don't know who that is.
So somebody has a narrative for this, if I remember my email correctly.
Yes, let's see, this is not the pond image, but this is from Beth. She couldn't be with us.
Uh-huh.
So the image is of a rock climb with notched top mountain in the background as an image from a previous summer, since there was too much haze this summer for me to capture any mountain scenes I liked, because she was out in Colorado, so she got the brunt of a lot of those fires. Although not as perfect as I would like it to be, I played with masking for the first time because I wanted cairn to pop more in the foreground.
Okay.
In the process of doing that, I figured out more about masking in Lightroom Classic, which was a good learning experience. I kind of like the moodiness drama of the image. So Beth is going to be watching this video and she'd like to hear some of the comments of what people feel about it.
Nice pick. Looks clear to me.
So here's a nice illustration of white snow. Look at the difference in color between this and this.
Right.
So that illustrates perfectly what we were just talking about. But to the image,
Is this Beth's picture? Is that what you said? I'm sorry, I had to step out for a minute.
That's it.
Yes.
And is this was with her iPhone?
I assume so. I don't know that she does anything else. Oh, this is an iPhone 6, interestingly.
Wow.
This is back when she was poor. Huh? She only had an iPhone 6.
Oh,
So with an iPhone, you really can you do as much, do you have as much control?
You can. It's not always evident in the photo app. Sometimes you have to use a different app, but you can get apps to do that. And for those of you who are Lightroom Classic subscribers, Lightroom's available on the phone and you can take images in Lightroom. And Lightroom does let you control and it'll shoot in DNG or RAW. So I'm not a good photographer with an iPhone. I'm terrible, but I occasionally have a push and try and do things better. So yeah, you can do that, but the photo app on iPhone, I think, only gives you very limited control. So you would need to use something different.
Okay.
But what do we think? What feedback have we got for Beth?
Well, I'm going back to something else you taught me, Graham, and that is, what is the picture of? And, I love rock stacking. I mean, that's an art, but I'm wondering if the picture is of the rock stack, or is it the mountain in the background? And what would happen if you had a shallower depth of field to keep the rock stacking in focus, but some of the rest of it was blurry, at least to a degree, so that you still got the feeling of what the overlook was.
I see what you're saying, because it looks like the stack is kind of blending in with the background.
To tell you the truth, I didn't even see the rocks
Exactly.
back until right now.
Yeah. Well, and to tie it back to the iPhone thing, and this is something I learned from Beth. She is able to control depth of field with her newer iPhone because the newer iPhones have a portrait mode, and a portrait mode will affect depth of field. And if she'd been using her newer phone, she may have been able to take this picture the way I'm describing it just by putting it on portrait mode, and the rock becomes the portrait and everything else gets blurry.
Oh, all right.
But she said she was working with masking, and it seems like Another thing she might do would be to darken the mountain. I assume that she isolated the cairn from the mountain with a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And so she could have dropped the exposure of the mountain a stop or so to give, because unfortunately the cairn is lit, and so is the section of the mountain behind the cairn. So anyway.
Yeah, if it was as dark as the right side, on the
Or-
left, it would stand out more.
A little darker, yeah.
So
I
this
gotta
is,
be honest, I didn't even see that little stack in the front until somebody mentioned it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you, Bill. I didn't see it either.
Sounds like we have a bird in here.
yeah,
Yeah, Mark was finally talking.
so I think everybody's making a similar set of points, and it's really hard to isolate the subject from the background. So this is one where I also find I love the dramatic sky
Yes.
in this,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
which do you want me to look at, Ms. Image Maker? Where do you want my eye to go? And my eye doesn't travel as well in this. The edges are really, really hard to discern here in my mind. So number one would be, I wonder what this image would look like if Beth had taken 2 steps to the left and set the lighted rock against the dark background, as Tom says.
Right.
Or in processing, remember the bit about the lightest, the sharpest, the highest contrast. So having done the masking, as Tom, I think it was Tom said, drop the background back down a stop or a stop and a half, but also reduce the contrast and make it so a little less contrast. I said that, didn't I? Reduce the contrast.
Or like Mike said, blur it a tad.
And there you go. Thank you. All of the above.
Because even making this,
Yeah, and there's one other way you can get to it, I think, and that is to use some artificial light on the rock stack. Use your flash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although it's already extremely bright, I think, Mike, but it would be worth a try. It's certainly
That's maybe something for light painting then.
right.
and maybe going vertical with the orientation instead of horizontal, since the rock stack is vertical.
Yep.
There is some value.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. There's also, this guy is as bright as these guys, and I'm not sure whether I'm expected to look at this guy.
Yeah.
So I would have, if I was tackling this, I think I might darken this foreground rock a touch, not much, and really bring these out. So yeah, good input, folks. You're starting to see really well, I think. Okay, who's laying claim to this one?
Actually, that's one of mine that I took really actually a couple years ago with an iPhone, but it was something that I just always liked this particular scene in Farrington, and doesn't have a whole lot of post-processing done or anything to it. So open to any comments. What other than, of course, making it sharper and everything and retaking it probably with my other camera. I just had that just spot has a great feel to it. And I was trying to capture it, and I don't think it kind of came the way I wanted it to come, but I like it, the spot anyway.
Yeah, definitely the depth of field, if you could increase that to make it sharper all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
What if
Yeah, I
it
think
was
I'd like
just
to make it, huh?
What if it was just a little bit darker? It just seems a little light to me, but it could be my eyes.
A little overexposed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I retake this with my, better camera or whatever, yeah, better depth of field,
Mhm.
sharper.
Mhm.
Anything else? Would you cut anything out of the picture
I
or?
think I might cut the tree stump at the bottom out.
Bottom, yeah.
What if you had taken 2 steps maybe to the right? Wonder what that would have done to the trees on the right.
Hmm. To give the path a little more curve maybe, huh? Or,
Yeah, and I think that what I heard Helen saying is that the trees on the right would then be a stronger statement to follow the path.
mhm. Okay,
Right, right.
Because the path,
the-
path does go over here, but it's cut off here. So I think if you were looking further down here from the right, as Leslie says, this would strengthen the line here, and it might let us see a little bit more in there.
mhm. Okay, so those are some good dots and I.
Good. Okay.
It would actually be interesting to see, Betty, it would be
Well-
interesting to see if you took the same shot with your better camera and then compared the two, so that you sort of got a sense of what you
Oh, yeah.
lost using the
Yeah,
iPhone.
no doubt it would,
Yeah.
because this one did, you can see, even
Yeah.
blowing it up like this, it doesn't have any sharpness or whatever.
Right.
It was hard to do post-processing. But yeah, I want to keep working on that.
Good.
Maybe even take the picture vertical.
Mhm.
If you moved over to the right and took your camera and went vertical, you might be able to capture more of the trees too.
Yes, and the path.
Mhm.
Good idea.
Okay. So who's laying claim to this one?
If you can hear me, it's me.
Mark?
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm on my cell phone. I submitted this for a couple of reasons. I just came from Yellowstone, and this was in the Tetons at Mormon's Row, if anybody's ever been there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had this vision in my mind of how I wanted to compose all the shots that I took, and this was not one of them, because all the shots that I wanted to take, you could see how hazy the mountains are and the clouds.
Mhm.
That's smoke from the California fires, and it
Oh.
just was not clear. So as I was trying to photograph the houses and the barns, and I just didn't like what I was seeing, I turned around and I thought, well, this is a far better shot, but it points out that the Tetons that you see in the background, as well as the clouds, are all hazed out, and I couldn't get that out of the image. So I bring this shot to the table because what I wanted to take, I didn't take it, and I turned around and I liked this shot a whole lot better. So it's not my best stuff, but there's no way that I know of to get that haze out. And Graham, I even tried to use a little exposure compensation on it a little bit. It was the right time of day, but it was just very, very, very smoky, very smoky.
So let's talk about that. So you've got what looks like extremely harsh lighting. This is midday.
Very harsh. It was the wrong time of day as well, but I didn't have any choice.
So you get what you get. But
You get what you
when we're
get.
talking about haze like that, what are we actually saying is the problem that we're trying to fix? Because I want to just pick up on your exposure compensation. That's not going to fix anything to do with the haze. What is it that what is the problem when we see a hazy image like this? What do we need to do to fix it?
Well, maybe a circular polarizer might help,
Well, that would
depending
help.
on where the sun is based on.
I had a polarizer on there.
Okay. But generally what we're talking about in haze is a lack of contrast. So we need to find a way to add contrast. And if, we're probably not going to be able to do it on site, we need to do it afterwards. So we would, if I was playing with this, I would select the area that I wanted, and then you've got to find some way to add contrast. Dehaze, if you're a Lightroom user, is phenomenal, but I wouldn't use it everywhere on this, because this is, you don't need it here. We only want it back there.
Right. But my real question is, considering the fact that haze was smoke, I don't know how else I could have taken this shot. That is really why I posted this question. How else could I have taken this shot? And I took a lot of these at all different kind of ways.
Right. I mean, as folks have said, Mark, that you can't get rid of it. You can minimize the effect on site, and then you can post-process.
Well,
I'll play
there's
around
another
with that.
thing, Mark, that I think that and this may be the optical illusion crop, but to me, if you didn't include so much of the sky above the clouds, that would reduce
It could.
what my eye gets drawn to. That's the brightest part of the picture. And if some of that sky above the clouds was cropped out, the mountains might look clearer, even though they're not.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if you had anything below what is shown in this shot that you cropped out, because I would have framed it a little bit differently, lowering the shot if you could.
There was a road in front of the fence, and it didn't go with how I wanted to compose the image, so that wouldn't have worked. But I could take a little bit more of that sky out of there.
Right.
But it was so disappointing that all you could see of the Tetons was a shadow. It was unfortunately very disappointing.
But maybe
I'll
that's.
play around with the contrast to see if that might help a little bit, bring the mountains out.
Or dehaze.
Yeah, dehaze, I think, would do a lot.
Yep.
I'll see what that does.
So,
Yeah.
Because Photoshop has that too.
So I have two observations for you, Mark, but on a humorous side, the story of my life has always been that it's a very difficult to get a clear view of the Tetons.
Yeah.
Now, is
No,
it
which
my
case,
monitor?
Depending on which way the wind was blowing.
Nobody speaks French, huh? Okay.
Now, is it my monitor, or is there a lot of spots in the sky?
I see it.
Mark gets the award for the filthiest
There could
sensor
be
of
some spots
2021.
The lens was dirty. I know that. I did not get all the spots out. I was hoping you wouldn't pick up on it.
That's not lens. That's not the lens. That's sensor. That's crap on your sensor.
So the sensor's got to be clean.
Yep.
Get out the hose.
Sorry, Mark. You got to really.
That's all right. That's why I didn't put my best shot up there. That's why I put this up there.
Yeah, but seriously,
I'm saving those for later.
Seriously, get your sensor clean.
I did clean it the next day. I did the auto sensor clean.
It's not enough. You've got really crap on there.
So how do you know, Mark, Graham, that it's not lens, that it's sensor?
They look different.
Yeah.
I mean, the other clue you will find is that if you put two images up, they're all in the same place on every image. And the way to do it is stop down and just take a picture of a white wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, good job.
Mark, don't use canned air on your sensor. Take your lens off, turn the camera upside down, and get a rocket blower, which is a squeeze bottle with air in it.
Yeah, I got one.
A bulb. Turn your camera upside down, blast it with the rocket blower, and then take another picture of the blue sky or a white wall.
Yeah. My guess is that you're going to need a cleaning kit to get rid of some of this.
Yeah, quite likely.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff.
Well,
That's mine again. And I submitted this for a couple of reasons. This is the waterfalls in the Grand Canyon. This was absolutely the worst time of day. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The haze was just off. It was just terrible. So I decided to sort of zoom it in a little bit and crop it and play a little bit around with the filters to get some kind of image of this. Unfortunately, it was the wrong time of day, which I couldn't change. And it was really pretty blown out. So I just threw that out there.
Doesn't look blown out to me. I actually love this image.
I
I
think
think
it's
it's really nice.
beautiful.
Well, it was at the top.
Absolutely.
I cropped the top out. It was the top that had a top on it. The top's gone.
Okay.
And Mark, go back to Silver Arts finals, state finals last year, and
Yeah.
look at the image that won the gold medal last year, and compare it to this one. It's
okay.
the thing that immediately popped in my mind. This is very similar in terms of, well, in terms of it's a landscape, but the color or lack of it is what won state last year in Silver Arts. Go back and look at it.
Okay.
The lovely image.
Yeah.
I love the coloring
I like it. Yeah, a lot.
and the lighting.
It's a great image.
Did you desaturate it intentionally, or is that just the way it turned out?
A little bit, not much, but a little bit, because it, like I said, it was the wrong time of day. And sometimes, you don't have any choice on where you're at. And I did go back 3 days later and got different images, but this is the one that I chose.
Oh, it's
So-
beautiful.
The one thing I would
The
say
spots on your
is,
sensor seem to have gone away.
which have,
I'm saying the
The spot.
spots on the
The spots, she's saying.
you need an even tone to see them.
Okay,
So,
good to know.
you will rarely see them in areas like this. If there were any,
Oh, it's not worth looking for them. I'm
Oh,
just-
Graham's looking for it. There it is.
I should
Yeah,
have
they're
kept
there.
my mouth shut.
I think that was fish in the water.
yeah, sure, okay.
Graham-
So this one, Mark, I would say it's overexposed. So the learning point would be is if you're shooting in conditions like this, make sure your highlights are well inside the histogram, and then you can play. But I would love to see the contrast and the detail brought out in this. So if I was looking at this image, if I was shooting, I'd want to make sure I preserve this and this. And then I can do the rest back home, as it were. But this is I love this image.
Yep.
I think it's a great.
Thank you.
Great image.
I have probably 30 or 40 of these, and that's just the one that I chose because I was interested in feedback. And the other part of the story was sometimes, you have in your mind what you want to shoot in your composition,
Yep.
and you have your plan that you want to do. And sometimes because of the time of day or situations, the plan goes out the damn door.
Well,
And that,
there you go.
I actually like the contrast between the mistiness of the water and the sharpness of the landscape.
Mountains.
I do too. It makes it so much more you get the power in that misty
Right.
background that then contrasts and sets off the really sharp part up in the forefront. I think that's part of this picture. If you hadn't said, it was the wrong time of day and this and whatever, I'd say, wow, this is just dynamite. It has a feel of power and sharpness, and you intended it that way.
Excellent,
I
Alan.
think it's great.
I feel the same way. I really like this picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And
Thank
the money you spent on a spirit level was really well spent money, Mark. Good job. Okay, I'm going to press on. We got a lot of pictures.
I'm guessing this is the other Beth one.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
Oh, it's Mike Blotzer.
that's a
Oh.
great
Oh,
shot.
okay.
I don't think Mike's here, is he?
No, they didn't see him on there.
Wonder where that is.
It looks like it's Beartooth Pass, wherever that is. And it's an iPhone shot.
Beautiful.
It is.
It's nice.
Love that sky.
So
That's
here's another one where, I'm guessing that Mike was hiking, and you get what you get in terms of the time of day. You've got very harsh lighting,
Mhm.
but it works. This is a nice shot. Works really well.
Yeah,
Lovely.
that sky is one you want to copy and use it as a background in another picture.
Yep, yep,
Right.
Well, she even caught the rain.
Yep. Off to the left there, yeah.
yeah.
But if he had underexposed this a little bit, would the landscape be a little more vibrant?
Right.
Could be. That's usually a good thing to do, is underexpose a stop and you get much more vibrance. But again, this is an iPhone.
Right.
Oh, it's an 11. So, yep, you can do that. This is, it's a little brighter at the foreground than
Mhm.
than would work for me. I'd love to see a lot more drama in the sky, but that's my style. I love dramatic skies, and I'll often work the sky to get some significant drama in there. This is a nice shot.
Mhm.
Shows what you can do with an iPhone. Okay. Oh, this might be, is this mic 2?
Yeah.
Yep. So here's the other problem in the West.
No clouds.
Sky. Yeah. Plain blue skies. You guys don't know how lucky you are. This
Yeah.
is why, in the West, it's terrible, because that's what you see all day, every day in many places. But this is a nice image. I like it, apart from the sky. Should have taken the sky from the previous.
What if he had underexposed that a tad?
Yeah, I think, again, you're seeing haze back here. It's the exposure is not bad down here, I think.
No, not the buffalo looked perfect.
Yeah. So, there's detail in the darks here, but,
Just may want to crop out some of that sky just to minimize it and get your eye
Well,
down.
and that's what I was going to as well, Bill. There's not enough foreground in this for me.
Mhm.
I think the foreground, the buffalo, the bison are the midground, and then you've got a bit less sky and the mountains as the background.
cool.
Maybe if the camera were a tad lower, it would be.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Whose image is this?
Mike Blotz.
Mike,
Looking at this, it's not clear that the foreground, if it's more of this stuff, I'm not sure it would have added.
Right.
It might make a nice panorama, cropped tightly at the bottom and a bit off the top. But
Are we on Creekwood Trail?
this is in Montana somewhere, I think.
The picture I have is Creekwood Trail, just showed up on my screen. Nobody else have that?
No.
No. Maybe you're looking at your own.
I'm looking at my own picture. What happened to I didn't touch anything.
Your alien friends are really
foresight.
talking to you, Bob.
Come back to Zoom, Bob. Come back to Zoom.
Let me get out of all this.
there we go.
Okay. Next.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Hello and hello. This is mine, Chris Ridley here.
Yep.
This is a happenstance photograph. But the lesson here is if you see it, stop the car, turn around, get out, even though there's someone else there saying, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And take the picture. And I got a close up for the newsletter, and I got a wider angle, but for some reason the type on the sign drops out on my iPhone 12 when I adjust it. So this is a fun shot. It's what I like to do and what I look for.
So this was taken with an iPhone, Chris?
I'm sorry?
This was taken with an iPhone?
Yes, 12.
Okay.
And what did you do in post-processing?
Beats me.
I'm sorry?
Beats me.
Oh,
I fiddle around with all the adjustments till I get the clearest and sharpest picture that allowed the sky to be wider at the bottom there so that the sign was kind of illuminated.
Right. Because, yeah, it's a little wider just above there and then
Yeah,
in between the two,
Whirly gigs. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
it's
I
like-
got it to glow in a way that's really kind of nice.
Was that the
Don't
intent?
ask me what I did.
Was that your intention?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. So you got a lot of posterization in here.
Yeah.
If that was what you were going for, then that's great.
Right.
Cool.
I like
Nice.
the
That
fact
is.
that the landscape is not just land, you know, landscape can be lots of different things.
Right.
That's the point. I don't do
Yeah, activity.
landscapes by and large. I've
No.
shot so many pictures of the damn silo at 5:30 at night. I stopped taking them and I look for, I'm an opportunist when it comes
Right.
to photography.
Mhm.
One of a kind.
Well,
Uh,
you'll be the judge of that.
This, the Tetons again?
I don't know whose this is.
Graham, that's mine. I didn't think I submitted it. That was by error.
Oh, okay.
That's at Schwabucker's Landing in the Grand Tetons. And
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that.
It must have
Another
come by
thing
carrier
to the other-
pigeon, Mark.
do what?
Must have come by carrier pigeon, huh?
Well, it was not my intention, so you could just pass. You could pass over
All
that.
right.
Okay.
Ooh, the sky are beautiful in that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
The depth of field is really good in this one too. You know, right from the reeds in the front all the way to the back.
Yep. The
Nice
cloud
clarity.
reflections in the water is amazing.
Yeah.
Whose is this?
This is Beth's.
Nice job, Ben.
Yeah.
That's Beth's.
Yeah.
Wow. Which of her iPhones was she using on this one? Can you tell, Graham?
iPhone 12.
I figured, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Shows
'cause
what-
she had a little paragraph here saying that being in Colorado, I was really hoping to get some good mountain landscapes to submit. However, the haze from the wildfires impeded capturing much of anything worthwhile this summer. I did manage to get this pond image on a recent hike along the Ute Trail in Rocky Mountain National Park, located near Alpine Visitor Center at an elevation at 11,796 feet.
Geez.
Oh.
It was fairly
This-
flat
that-
trail
to
at
me,
the
this is a
beginning. So they did a 4-mile hike and had lunch.
Good to know.
Gorgeous.
This is a perfect example in my mind of foreground, midground, and background. And the other thing that, and I wondered about the altitude and with the other pictures, I guess Mark's, I can't remember for sure if it was his, but altitude does something interesting to skies, I think. It really causes the deep blues to come out.
Mhm.
Yep. Excellent.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is a super shot.
Ah,
Okay.
I think that may have been one of mine. I was busy this past couple of weeks. I switched over to Adobe Elements and also switched from JPEG to RAW. And so most of I'm just trying to figure out how to use Elements and but this was at Okanichi Raceway in Hillsborough.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you use a
Well,
trim?
the leading lines are terrific.
Yep.
When you walk through that, it looks a little undersaturated to me.
Okay.
Or underexposed or overexposed, one of the two, or maybe both. But nice shot.
Good.
Did you use a tripod, Bob?
I did not.
Okay. So for me, the question would be sharpness.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the leading line, as Mike says. you get what you get. For me, saturation looks okay on my screen. I wouldn't, if there's detail, as long as there's detail down here, I would be okay with that. But yeah, I would work on sharpness, and then I think you've captured it. You're in a good position.
Good. One question I have, I can see those two walkers right up.
Yeah, I know.
I don't, but I'm wondering, would it have been better if they were like further along in front of that branch? So, because you see them, but I don't know if it would have been better having them in front of it so you could see them
Probably would have been better if they weren't there.
at all. Okay. Yeah. To me, it's either have them or don't have them.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I agree. I agree.
I can help you get rid of them.
Okay, that's what I
There you
need.
go.
I need help.
you're just talking about the picture, right, Billy? You're not going to
Well,
put a contract on these people. Are you?
depends on how much money is involved.
Well, Bill,
Not a
Bill's
lot of
often
money.
gone. Bill's
Careful,
often
this is
gone.
being recorded and will be up on YouTube.
He might have a different life.
A couple of years ago, I took a picture at the Smoky Mountains, and there was a photographer walking down the road way off in the distance. And it kind of added to it because you had that lone person walking along that road. But,
Showing scale. Mhm.
yeah, right. Yeah, this is mine. This is at that little pond on Village Way, right here in Farrington Village. And I was there one morning, and I can't remember whether I had the tripod, but what I liked about it was the reflections, for one thing.
Yeah.
I've always liked that.
No kidding.
And the fact that it's
Amazing.
drawing you in a number of different ways to that little area in the center left. So your eye is like going right to those trees up there.
Yep.
And you've got, the row of trees on the bottom, up on the top, and then on the other side. But it just struck me as a night. The only problem was the cars. I have to work more on getting those out of there.
Yep. Well, I think it's an excellent image.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it is a good one.
The
Very good
lighting
one.
is lovely.
Oh, it's a perfect
Yeah.
morning for it. Yeah.
You had the right sky.
And the polarizing filter helped.
Yep. Nicely done.
Yeah, terrific.
Oh, nice. I like the foreground, having the two,
Who's laying claim?
This one is mine.
Uh-huh.
It's the two pictures I have are from the Pittsburgh Library, and the line that I was going to use is from Crosby, Stills and Nash. If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. So I took two pictures from the library. And anyway, I feel like I should have used some masking. I still don't know how to do that to make the sky brighter, more blue.
Oh, I wouldn't make the sky any brighter. I would make it darker.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's
Any
nice.
comments? Any comments?
Yeah, I agree with Greg. If the sky was darker, because everything below the tree line looks very nicely exposed. And I like having those two, I don't know what you would call them. They look, like farm blades or whatever as
Yep.
your foreground.
Yep.
With it kind of draws your eye up into that tent. And then just the sky, if it was darker, would look great.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think so too.
I think you need to borrow Mark's spirit level. It looks a little, I'm not sure whether it is or whether it's an optical illusion.
Yeah.
It looks like it ought to be rotated right a little bit.
Rotator right? Okay.
And then
Look,
you missed your border.
the plow looks pretty level.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm saying.
know, that's what happened. Yeah, the plow looked level and then the back of it looked sort of.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going uphill.
It's
I would-
nicely
I would like to see maybe it cropped a little bit on the left.
Okay.
On the left, okay.
from the left, you know?
Yeah, at least they're just taking out that stump on the left there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen very, very little use of vignetting again. And this is one where maybe a little vignette might add to it.
That's true.
It might. It's worth a try. I would definitely try tilting it a little to the right and see whether it looks better or not. You know, this is one of those, try it and see things. Nicely seen.
Where was this, Susan?
And in turn,
This is at the library, you know, they have, as part of the community college, they have a whole farming thing. And the one thing in both these pictures is there's fencing all around it. And so I had to take all the lines out that were fencing because there were lines through every single picture.
Oh,
Wow, good for you.
But if you walk around the library, you'll see there's this little farm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
that's a nice picture.
Mhm.
Is this you again?
Yeah, that's me again. And I managed, and the sky was cooperating.
Oh,
Nice.
definitely.
Yeah.
Nice. That's another one where I think a half stop reduction in the sky alone would really give some impact to this.
Say that again?
I think just darkening the sky a bit would give this even more impact. I think I like this. This is nice impact to full photograph.
I think you're
and
spot on.
the
with
sky,
amount of
the sky is,
I was going to say that you're spot on with the amount of sky versus the land. The proportions are great.
and I agree that the sky is just, it could pop a little bit more, but those clouds are amazing. I would get rid of the buildings on the left.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. And just do the sky and the
Yeah, exactly. You got foreground, middle ground, and background if you do that. And the greenhouse over there and the shed behind it, I think detract from, I think it's a wholly different picture if you get rid of those. It's very nice.
There's multiple pictures here. I'm not sure I agree with Mike about getting rid of those, but you know, I think there are certainly multiple pictures. You could definitely get one just of the sky here. But I think this works. I think it works really nicely. You're really into the nuancing, I think. And for me, just making that sky a little more contrasty. And this is where you get caught. This is where I get caught, is I'd be really interested to see whether these clouds are just blown out, but getting a little more detail in them. But this is really nitpicky. This is a nice image. I think you're headed in a good direction.
Yes.
thank you.
Very nice.
Cool stuff. Okay. Who's this?
Okay, that's me. That was on the one day that there was sun and a little blue skies on our whole trip last week to California. This is up in Shelter Cove, about 5 hours north of San Francisco, and it's on the Black Sands Park. So
This out by the airport, Bill?
by Shelter Cove,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I tried to.
Terrific, Bill.
I tried to get the best of the waves breaking. I've got just a little bit of the beach just to show, just to give relativity to it. The clouds and the fog that we had was, I guess I would have liked to seen a little more of the clouds, but not much I could do about that.
Oh, I think those clouds are pretty damn good.
Awesome.
I think this works really well.
You talking about the middle clouds, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, to me, they look great.
Yeah, awesome.
Bill, I'm just curious, did you do anything with shutter speed regarding the water or not?
Oh, right.
I think I was just trying to stay in the range of about, I don't know, I guess Graham could look that up, but maybe
Yeah.
around
Oh, here we go.
1/25th,
3/20th, Bill.
3/20th.
320, okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, out in California, the waves are much more robust than you might see in the Outer Banks. So
Yeah,
by even shooting at 320, I do get that slight movement in it, which,
right.
which I wanted.
Looks good.
I like this. I would pull the highlights down here back just a touch. I'd like to see it like that. Not much, a fraction. But it's a gorgeous image.
It is beautiful.
Really beautiful.
It's
Beautiful.
really beautiful. The thing that's so great too is out west, there's just so many different things you can get all in one picture, like the mountains and the ocean and the sand,
That's why we're still wondering why Graham moved this way.
Yeah.
It is beautiful out there.
It's amazing how many layers you have in that picture.
Yep. Gorgeous. Excellent job, Bill.
Yeah, and that's from the little backyard of the apartment that we had up in Shelter Cove.
Bill,
Just to
that's
be able-
awesome, man. That is awesome.
Just to try to keep the elements in check here, I have those few flowers off to the left-hand side, and you can see just a little bit of the railing as my foreground. And then I shot this probably at somewhere around 15 to 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Nice.
Bill, it's fantastic, man. It's like, because all the technical stuff aside, that just it generates this great feeling, and it's so emotional. Wow, that's awesome.
Now, the downside of this is that it's not as clear as I would like it to be, meaning the stars, there's a little bit of fuzziness on them. I was working off the back of my camera. I didn't bring my laptop with me, where I could have seen it in a little more detail and maybe gone back and made an adjustment. But
no, it works. Nice shot of Venus. Good job.
yeah, the 850 makes those easy, because most of what you saw in the front there, even with your eye, was almost impossible to see. So that depth of field that you'll be able to draw out of the shadows is really good.
Right. Cool.
It's a money shot, Bill. Money shot.
Yeah.
Who's this?
Okay, that's mine, Betty.
Wow.
I looked after you were mentioning Charlotte Gibbs last time in the recording. I looked at her stuff, seeing as I wasn't going anywhere west and there was no dramatic sights anywhere that I was going. And this was taken over at Briar Chapel on the, bike trail walking thing, with, the big electric grid thing on the background at early in the morning, and the haze was coming in, and I never worked with anything quite like that, trying to, and then the little sunburst up in the corner. Anyway, any comments?
I think it's an amazing juxtaposition, because the bottom sort of looks almost, what's the word I'm looking for?
Jungle-like.
Yeah,
Jungle.
and then you've got the man-made structure above it, as a contrast. I think it's
The diagonal lines.
You actually
And
have
the power line, drifting off into the haze.
Right.
Yeah,
That adds.
that's
it's almost
terrific too.
a leading line in itself, drawing you to that right area.
Mhm.
Then even the foliage down there seems to draw you into the same spot.
Just great.
Beautiful. It's sort of it's also very complex. There's a lot in it. And I like that.
It's much more complex than, taking a bird's eye or something like that. And this is when I decided landscape is really, really complex and technical. And nothing compared to taking an animal.
Well, and Betty, what I was about to say is, there needs to be a squirrel or a bird perched on that tower.
I purpose, oh, there's a spider web way in the corner.
Okay. Well, this is proof of a picture that does not involve an animal that is really, really terrific.
It is.
It is
Mhm.
lovely.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Good work. But it's nice to see you pushing out there and doing stuff that's very different.
Does
That's
that
good.
look like a Charlotte Gibb type picture to you?
Oh, I mean,
Hers is better,
she
but
goes
I mean,
for that misty look. She goes for that soft look. So it's some aspects of that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, if you think it is, that's enough. You should, next time she's out here, they come out and shoot in the Smokies, usually in the early part of the year, in spring, I think. But maybe we should have an expedition next time they're out there. Oh, well, bugger. Oh, come on. Stop doing this to me.
Whoa, we do have a lot of pictures.
Yeah, we do. We have, oh, there we go. Okay. We need to, oh my God, yeah, we're 20. Okay, who's laying claim to this?
This one is mine. I'm reading a biography of Sally Mann, and she makes the statement that in her area of Northern Virginia, that it's beautiful but not exciting. And that's what I found as I rode around all over, that I found so many lovely areas, but none of them were exciting. So this was what I found, a little cove off of Beaver Creek and near Pea Ridge Road.
This works.
Totally.
Is that a cardinal? I see the red spot.
I zoomed in on that, and it is a leaf.
The leaf, isn't it? Yeah.
Very bright.
So there's a lesson for us. If there's anything red in the frame, that's where you're going to look.
I started to take it out. I didn't know what I thought it was. I thought it was something on the lens, and then I left it just because I was trying to get a autumn look to it. I tinted it a little bit to try to make it, the leaves look, to get any interest.
Right. Okay, nicely done.
A nice calm picture.
Really.
This is another one from me. To me, this was also at Okanichi Speedway, and it just looked peaceful. That was kind of the main thing. And I'm still struggling with learning how to do, like I said, elements and how to process it. So
Is there something around a tree?
Looks like a
wire?
fencing.
Okay.
I think there was another trail behind.
No, I was talking about the fencing around the tree.
It looks like they
Oh,
put something around it
yeah.
to protect it.
Yeah, they protected some of the trees, I believe.
That is
It's a
such a
lovely
beautiful
shot, but
area
it just makes me feel like you need to weed out all of that grass.
there.
No, that's
So
why.
invasive.
That's all our backyard, right?
Yeah, I've got it all in my yard.
Yeah, I'll spray it next time I go.
No, don't spray.
If that won't work anyway.
So to me, Bob, the image is in here. This brightness here is dragging me down.
Okay.
And in my mind, this adds very little. There's a gorgeous image in here,
Mhm.
this circle of trees.
They could have cropped out.
Well, yeah, and this is way, so the problem you have is that, to me, is the scene is here, and there's a great deal of beauty in here. And then I have this big, bright thing down here that grabs me and drags me down.
Gotcha.
So to me, I would, be tempted to, I'm not a big cropping fan per se, but this one, in my mind, cries out for it, because there's a lot of real interest here.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
But nicely seen. I would work on that. See whether it makes a better image or not. Some of these things, practice and trying it
Okay.
gives you a good answer.
Yeah, this conversation back and forth on all the pictures, it kind of just helps give another perspective, and I think
Right.
it's good.
Yes.
I
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Good. Okay, who's
That's
this?
mine.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
good.
Leslie?
Yeah, that's mine.
Oh,
It is,
yeah.
it's both a stop because I got the opportunity, and then I went back the next day at the same time to shoot it again.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was just driving along Old Greensboro Road, and out of the corner of my eye, I mean, I was looking for something to photograph, and the sun was just hitting that perfectly.
Right.
Yes.
the lighting is beautiful.
Yeah, that's really what the photograph is really all about, I think.
Mhm.
Side lighting on the side of that building, just,
Yep.
it jumps out at you.
Exactly.
And the lighting in the window. The
I
window,
know.
Right.
That's great feel.
Yeah.
And you've got Mike's foreground, midground, and background.
And a little bit of sky interest.
Yeah,
Yep.
I really like that.
Anything else? It's taken with my iPhone.
I was just going to say, is this an iPhone square picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I cropped it square.
Oh, okay, right. It works quite well square.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
very
so.
good shot.
Nicely seen.
Thanks. That's also mine.
Oh, I like that.
Wow.
I like that a lot. Mm.
That was at University Lake, right before sunrise.
Yeah.
And it was my first foray into using elements to get rid of some using the healing brush to get rid of the spots in the
okay.
water. And also there were some, I cloned out a red and blue boat that was behind the fence, the walkway on the left-hand side.
Ah,
Mm.
But I
Yeah.
thought it was really great in terms of how everything is sort of pointing to that
yep.
opening in the trees. back there.
Mhm, mhm.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
And it's
Very
got
nice.
great symmetry to balance off the haze. I mean, like the three boats and then the bridge going out to it,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then the haze. It's just wonderful.
I
This
also
is-
like the mutedness of the colors too. That's why I got rid of the red boat, because everything was just sort of
Yeah. Yeah.
this sort of muted color, and the red just sort of stuck out.
Yeah.
So this is a location you note, and then next time you got a good sky,
Mm,
go and shoot it again too.
yeah.
I think-
Well, it was more, I mean, the sun hadn't even come up yet. So
Right. It's nice, nice location. This is one for the book, you write it down and you go back repeatedly.
University Lake in Chapel Hill or
Yeah.
Carborough.
Is
Interesting.
that on
From,
Jones Ferry or
Yeah,
not?
right off Jones Ferry.
Okay.
oh,
Okay.
okay. I didn't even know there were boats there.
Oh, yeah, there were a bunch of fishermen getting ready to go into the water.
Huh,
when
interesting.
I was there. Yeah.
Nicely
Fishing from
seen.
kayaks.
Really nice, really nice.
Very
Thanks.
nice. Okay.
This is mine.
Hmm.
This is a familiar scene to anybody who drives up past Jordan Lake on Route 64. And then right past it, right at the entrance where you go into the Recreation Center headquarters, is what I call, as I drive by, and there's a guardrail right along here, the stick pond. And it's really quite dramatic. I actually sent in the wrong picture. I produced it so that the sticks are more pronounced.
Okay.
But it's a terrific view. I took my life in my hands because I pulled over into the entrance to the headquarters, and I had to walk 50 feet along the inside of the guardrail in order to get out in front of the pond in order to get this shot. And I have to say, I've never seen this shot anywhere else before because it ain't easy to get at, and you can't stop your car because there's only 3 feet there between the road and the guardrail if you're on the inside. If you're on the other side, which is where I'm standing, it's slightly safer.
I've
Anyway,
Googled
it's a nice
that.
shot. It's crisper in another post-production where the sticks are more pronounced, but if you drive up 64, you can't miss it, and it's a wonderful piece of photography.
It is.
I've Googled that any number of times trying to find out how you could get there without getting killed. Because I've
Yeah,
wanted to
that's the
take-
problem. I've thought about that picture for years.
Me too.
Yeah, there's no good place to park.
Hey,
This-
folks, no guts, no glory.
Yeah.
This is why God gave landscape photographers legs.
That's
Yes.
right.
Good work.
Opportunism.
Very interesting.
Beautiful.
Nice to see you.
Whoa.
Thank you.
That's mine. Tom.
Wow,
Oh,
Tom.
Tom, okay.
That's an
Wow.
amazing photograph.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Is that fire or clouds?
Yeah, thanks. That's why I really like it, because it's you have to go, wow, is this a war photograph or is it a beautiful morning? I really like that's the sun. It's a let's see, it would be actually a reflection of the sun.
Right.
And I think last time we were on, I talked about getting the camera very low, down close to the water. So what looks like the first wave there is actually just foam. And I just liked it because it was so strange looking, and the cloud is obviously so
Oh,
dramatic.
yeah.
Where was it taken, Tom?
Emerald Isle.
And was that morning or evening?
Yes, it's early morning,
Okay.
very early morning. Yeah,
Jeez.
It's
sun
beautiful.
was just coming up. Yeah. And then I took the next one that I entered is a picture of the same cloud.
Wow. That's a beautiful shot.
That's a nice shot.
Mhm. Mm.
That's Alice walking, heading west.
Yeah. I was wondering if that was her. Okay.
Yeah.
Lights and
And I left that little tiny bird down there. I suppose I might have taken it out, but I left it.
Nicely seen.
Anyway, it was a beautiful morning. Beautiful morning.
It looked like it, yeah.
Gorgeous.
Good job.
Nice
So it's
to
one. The idea is that it's two different photographs of the same cloud.
Good. Was that an iPhone shot, Tom?
No, that's just my little point and shoot.
Okay. Good. Well, folks, I think that's it. Good job all around.
It was good.
Great.
Great.
What's
Any
next time?
Any final comments?
What's
While
next?
I was gone last week for the steering committee, did you come up with the next challenge?
No. No. I don't think so. Did we, Helen?
I don't think so. We had talked about, I think, having 2 times when we would do landscapes. Had we? Can't remember.
No, I can't remember either. So there you go. That's a problem with all these bloody old people, isn't it? Young people remember what the hell went on. So we'll have to sort that out, Bill. Next
How about
week.
something around the house?
Sounds good.
Define, what does it mean?
Let's sort that out at the next session because we're running very, very long.
Mhm.
But it was great.
Excellent.
Very good meeting. Very beautiful shots.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, guys.
Nicely done.
Great.
All right, folks.
Everyone.
Hey, guys.
Thank you all.
See you in a
Be
couple
well.
of
Have a
weeks.
good week.
Take it
Take care.
easy, everybody.